This may come as a shock to you, but Donald Trump actually didn't spend the day in court today. But not to worry, he'll be back in court tomorrow. Plenty to watch, I'm sure. And when it comes to the case in Manhattan, he is, of course, innocent until proven guilty. That's how it works. But let's not forget, he has already been found liable for business fraud and for sexual abuse. He's still facing criminal charges in Washington, D.C., and in Florida, and in Georgia. He was also just named an unindicted co-conspirator in Arizona and in Michigan. And right now, the basic thrust of his campaign message is that presidents should be immune from prosecution so they can attempt coups and commit crimes at will. So that's basically where we are right now. And yet, leaders in the Republican Party are closing ranks around their likely nominee, including many who clearly know better. Consider this. Just a few months ago, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis basically mocked people who bent the knee and kissed Trump's ring.
You can be the strongest, most dynamic, successful Republican and conservative in America, but if you don't kiss that ring, then he'll try to trash you. You know what? You deserve a nominee that's going to put you first, not himself first.
Turns out that one didn't exactly age well. Because just this weekend, Governor Ron DeSantis went down to Miami to do the exact thing he roundly mocked once upon a time, not that long ago. He reportedly met with Trump to bury the hatchet and discuss fundraising for the upcoming general election campaign. And that is just the most recent example of a leading Republican who at one point called out Trump for being the uniquely immoral figure that he is before falling right back in line. Takes, for example, Trump's former Attorney General Bill Barr, who at one point seemed more than willing to tell it like it is.
He has a lot of people who follow him stubbornly. And one of the interesting things is the people who actually have worked with him, have seen him behind the scenes, not many of them are supporting him.
Here's the thing. Apparently, there are a lot of Republicans who seem to be tolerant of behavior they don't think is appropriate for the chief executive, including, apparently now you, Mr. Barr.
So just to be clear, you're voting for someone who you believe tried to subvert the peaceful transfer of power, that can't even achieve his own policies, that lied about the election even after his attorney general told him that the election wasn't stolen. And as the former chief law enforcement in this country, you're going to vote for someone who is facing 88 criminal counts.
The answer to the question is yes.
The answer to the question is yes. That was almost hard to watch. Okay, how about New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, who at one point had this to say about Donald Trump right here on our show just last year.
You would support him for president even if he's convicted in classified documents. You support him for president even though you believe he contributed to an insurrection. You support him for president even though you believe he's lying about the last election. You support him for president even if he's convicted in the Manhattan case. I just want to say the answer to that is yes, correct?
Yeah, me and 51% of America.
Okay, Governor Sununu, you were once capable of speaking truth about the leader of the party you remain in. And that seemed to be the governor just a few weeks ago. I mean, what is a popular governor who isn't even running for re-election supposed to do? I mean, what could he possibly do? Lots of things is the answer. And of course, there's Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving Republican leader in Senate history, who in the wake of January 6th spoke powerfully about who exactly was to blame for that brazen attack on our democracy. It was very powerful.
President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
That was Mitch McConnell on the floor of the Senate. That was him then. This is Mitch McConnell now.
As the Republican leader of the Senate, obviously, I'm going to support the nominee of our party.
But you have taken stands on issues you feel are of strong national security interest and morally imperative.
What kind of influence would I have had?
You're one of the most powerful Republicans.
I'm the Republican leader of the Senate. What we do here is try to make law.
Senator McConnell, give yourself a little more credit. You are the Senate minority leader. You're quite powerful. You aren't a powerless observer of history sitting on the sidelines. So what have we learned through all of this? Well, we've learned that people like Mitch McConnell and Chris Sununu and Bill Barr and Ron DeSantis know better. They've said it out loud and definitely privately. They know who Donald Trump is. They know what he's done. They know what he's capable of. And yet they will still give him their full-throated support in November. I mean, from time to time, you at home may find yourself wondering how Donald Trump continues to survive through indictments and criminal trials and insurrections and everything else. Well, enablers like the ones I just mentioned are a big reason why. Sarah Matthews is the former White House Deputy Press Secretary for Donald Trump. McKay Coppins is a staff writer for The Atlantic who has written extensively about Trump's enablers in the Republican Party. And to both join me now, it's great to see you both. Thank you so much for taking the time. Sarah, I want to start with you. I mean, as you're watching that, you have spoken out and consistently spoken out. What goes through your head when you see people who clearly know better defending Trump as they just did?
Yeah, it's really frustrating because, as you noted, some of the things that they've said publicly about Donald Trump are horrible, and then they're going on and endorsing him. So I can only imagine the things that they say privately. I've talked with a lot of Republicans, high-up elected officials and things like that, who will bash him privately, but many of them will not even say it publicly. And
once bashed him publicly.
Yeah, but these folks have bashed him publicly and are still going forward and supporting him. And a lot of times what they often say is that they're supporting him because of the policies, that they want the conservative agenda. And where I get really frustrated is that they're treating this like it's a normal election, a normal Republican candidate and a normal Democratic candidate. Well, this couldn't be anything further from the case. With Donald Trump, you have a candidate who tried to overturn the last election, who spread conspiracy theories because he couldn't accept the fact that he lost the last election. And then those theories helped inspire an insurrection on our nation's capital. And to this day, Donald Trump still refuses to admit that he lost that election and has not shown any remorse for what happened on January 6th. And so, of course, I would love for us to be having a debate of policy ideas in the 2024 election. But when we have a candidate on the ballot who will not uphold the Constitution, then I feel like I have to put policy aside and I want to support the person who is best suited to defeat Donald Trump. And one thing I will note really quickly on Bill Barr specifically, in that interview that you showed, he mentions this about policies, and that's why he's supporting Trump, even though he says he shouldn't be anywhere near the Oval Office. And I wrote down a quote that I found from Bill Barr in May of 2023, where he said that if Trump reclaimed the White House in 2024, quote, "You may want his policies, but Trump will not deliver Trump policies. He will deliver chaos. And if anything, lead to a backlash that will set his policies much further back than they otherwise would be." So even if you want a conservative agenda, Trump is not the person who will deliver that.